my son was in second grade. He's 21 now. He loved, well, if it involved a ball and running, he was into it. And it was in that, and so did all of his friends. And it was January of his when he was in the second grade, he discovered the NFL and the NFL playoffs, January. And so that gave my wife, who's a planner, she doesn't do it for a living, but this is what she loves to do. She said, I'm going to schedule or coordinate an event with Wyatt and all of his friends to come out and play a flag football game. And she billed it as the second grade Super Bowl. And I thought, wait a minute, January in Seattle, there's no way none of these kids and their parents are gonna want anything to do with this. I could not have been more wrong. 20 boys showed up for the game, and there were 30 parents who showed up to watch. They didn't just drop their kids off. They were there to watch the entire game. So my wife's the planner, but on the day of the event, I was the guy who was to execute on the game. And so I figured, hey, look, we're going to do this up at Magnuson Park on one of the grass fields. And I realized I got help from one of the other dads. We were going to be the referees for the second grade Super Bowl. So I said, okay, these are 8-year-old kids. So it's got to be a small field, maybe 40 or 50 yards long. And I thought, okay, well, I need some cones or something to, with the sidelines and the end lines. And I didn't have any cones, but I thought, I'll check in the basement. Maybe there's just something down in my basement that I could use. And remember, this was January. Christmas was only a few weeks removed from, and I go down there, and I love Christmas. I love decorating the house. And what I found, I said, this is going to be perfect. It was these 4-foot-tall candy canes. And these they're 4 feet tall. They're white styrofoam, and they're about the width of a baseball bat. And they have this red ribbon to make it look like a candy cane. And I still put these things up in the house every year. So this is what I put out there. So when the kids and the boys showed up and the parents, they thought this was fantastic, that there was this field of a dozen candy canes as the line. So they select teams. My son is on the defense, the first possession. So the first possession of the game, the other team of his classmates they just march down the field and they score a touchdown. And these boys start going berserk because they have just scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Now, the thing you have to know about my son Wyatt is he hates to lose. And it was so bad, I was just hoping someday, I hope he grows out of this. So everyone goes back to the midfield for the kickoff. And I can see that look in his eyes. He's getting a little upset. And then the other boys, one thing that triggered him the most was when the other players would just gloat. And they got up in his face and said, we just scored a touchdown, we're gonna win. And I could see that he was about to boil. And I said, as his dad, I gotta get in front of this. So I catch his eye, I'm standing on the sideline, all the parents are behind me. I catch his eye and I look at him, I go, just bring it down. And he looks at me, glares at me, and he starts walking toward me. Remember, he's 8 years old. He's walking at me with purpose. And then he gets to one of the candy canes. He takes his foot and kicks that thing as hard as he possibly can. This thing splinters into 4 pieces through the air. And I remember distinctly watching this one piece just arc through the sky with the ribbon just trailing behind it. And I was going, oh, that's really pretty. But I looked back at him, and the look that he gave me, the look implied that, you got anything else you want to say to me, Dad? And he turned and walked away. Now, what happened next? This all went through my mind in a matter of seconds. I thought, okay, I got 2 things I can do here. As a dad, my first thought was, I can't let my son do this in public and behave like this. So I got to come over the top of him and discipline him right now. And I thought, oh, no, this is not, as I've learned, it's not a learning moment. When emotions are high, nope, not a learning moment. So I said, I'm just going to have to eat this one and address this later. But then I'm thinking, remember, all these parents are behind me. And I'm thinking, if I don't do anything, they got to be thinking, oh, he's weak. He's this weak parent that lets his kid walk all over him. What am I going to do here? I got to make a decision quick. And then it occurred to me that, hey, maybe they didn't even notice. Or maybe the parents don't even care. So I remember I just turned around. And as I turned and looked back, boom! Every parent was looking right at me. And the look on their face said, what are you going to do now? And then I said, that was my favorite Christmas decoration. And fortunately, everyone busted up laughing. I go, whew, I got out of that one. But so Nick, the thing I learned is, whenever you think you've only got two options or your options are limited, you can go anywhere. You don't have to focus on just two things. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Hang on for a second.